So thank you all again for coming. This is an exciting point where we have had the opportunity to work with Calvin and his company to create something really special and impactful. So first things first, Calvin, what is Smeeple?
Yeah, so I'm still trying to figure out what it really is. But no, so what we created was a two-sided marketplace that allows people that are true experts in their field to be connected to the consumer, right? So whether it's a mom with a son on a travel baseball team that wants a little bit more encouragement or some coaching, he can now connect to a Division I baseball player, and all the way to, hey, my HVAC sounds a little bit off. Instead of paying someone to come over that most likely will give me a $700 bill and say that something's broken, I can call someone and talk to someone for about $20 to say, is there actually something wrong with this, or is this normal? So it's just a live YouTube-esque experience for all type of expertise.
Well, and to build on that a little bit more, what inspired Smeeple?
Yes.
Why?
Right.
Why Smeeple?
Right. I blame my wife all the time for this one. So my wife thought, hey, so I'm a nuke engineer. I have a background and I ran nuclear power plants for 15 years. And my wife said, can you replace the faucet on our main floor bathroom? Because I want it to be gold, not silver. So I said, sure. I went to YouTube and watched my one video, and she ordered it, and I put it in. And about an hour later, I checked, and there was a single drop of water underneath that faucet. So at the time, why in the world would you call a plumber for $250? It'd say, hey, I can figure this out. 8 hours later, I should have called that plumber, because I finally figured out what was wrong after 8 hours, and it was the silliest mistake. But as I'm sure many of you know, sometimes YouTube and Google doesn't work. I can't type in, there's some type of drop coming out once an hour, like explaining it all, and it doesn't give you the right answer, right? Where in reality, all I needed was a plumber for about 3 or 4 minutes. And it was just multiple things like that, where another story a couple weeks later, my son, who, I like to play sports, and my children do too. However, they take after my wife, who's rather small. And my son came up to me weighing all of 50 pounds at age 10 or 11. And he says, Dad, I want to shoot a bow and arrow for you. And I'm like, or shoot a bow and arrow. And I'm like, yes, let's go do it. So I bought him a bow and arrow. We go into the backyard. He pulls it back, and he had told me I did a great job at camp. So I'm expecting bullseye, first shot. He pulls it back, he launches it, and it only goes about 2 feet. Step aside, boy. I've seen Robin Hood. I know how to do this. So I pick up the bow, I pull it back, and it literally only goes 2 feet. So I'm not shoot a bow either. So we ended up driving about an hour to go talk to the Mennonites, where I live in Southern Maryland. And they just fixed it. A couple of little, hey, stand here, release here, and so forth. You were shooting the bow fine. But in reality, in today's world, like the craziness that came from COVID is acceptance of video conferencing. I didn't need to drive an hour for the type of help that we needed. I just needed to talk to someone and really show them what was going wrong. So that stuff started happening. And I heard a couple of those instances happen where I'm like, why doesn't a platform exist where I can just talk to an expert? I want to do it myself, but I just need a little bit of expertise. So I went online and found out it wasn't there. And I said, hey, I've run, a nuclear power plant, and, I work 12, 13-hour days. It would be easy to start a company. And then the rest is history.
Great. So you answered the question, what was the before Smeeple experience? Talk to us about the product development journey, soup to nuts. We helped you create something that was in your mind and turn it into an experience, but talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So even though I run nuclear power plants, it's 1970s technology. So
sure.
If it's analog and, one switch works to here, then, I know how to do it. But I don't have a tech background. I don't have definitely a design background. Ben can attest to that. As Ben said, stop trying to design things. That's me. But in reality, I had the idea, as you said, but I had none of the capabilities to do it, right? So I'm very successful in the nuke industry. That's where my talent stops, right? So in regards to project management or design, I had the concept there, but really I needed a team to be able to come in and say, here's the idea. But, Amanda, many times that you share was something about like the drywall and when you're building, like you're like, hey, it takes a process to be able to build.
Sure.
I'm like, I wanted the finished product tomorrow, but
right.
In reality, it takes time to be able to put stuff together. And that's truly was based off of my ignorance in regards to like, no, the idea is here. So tomorrow it should be able to be built. But in reality, there's so much that goes behind that. So truly thankful for I was able to present an idea, and then truly Truefit was able to come in with multiple experts in regards to, I got this swim lane, I have this swim lane, and we're gathering what you have. We're going to do also some research behind that and put it together to really implement it correctly.
I think the analogy was if you were creating a custom home, you wouldn't just start building willy-nilly. Yes. Like you would bring in a designer and an architect. Talk a little bit about as you started to see the product come to life? Did anything change about your original vision? Like talk us through that.
The reason why I believe that we're succeeding. So right now, for example, there's a company coming out there, and I'm okay announcing it. It's called Minect. So Minect has some huge celebrities behind them, and they have a couple different features that we don't have. And if you look at it on the top layer, they're doing fantastic. But in reality, if you see the experts that have joined, they're not doing so hot. The process that we went through, we really identified what would be actually successful. Like, what are people actually looking for? So, for example, Jackie, I believe is her name, did research for us. She booked with one of our competitors, booked an appointment and talked for 15 minutes with a closet designer. And two of the things that came from that is, one, after 15 minutes, the call immediately cut off. And she said, I was having an amazing experience with this celebrity designer, and after 15 minutes, it cut off. Yeah. And then she said, I got so much information from that, but I wasn't able to follow up or rewatch it. We took that information and we ended up building where it doesn't cut off at 15 minutes. There's been multiple sessions where it's gone not 15 minutes, but 30 minutes or 60 minutes. And one of the unique things about that is we found out that experts like to make the money, right? That's what they're there for. It's a free market system, so they can put whatever rates they want. However, they get the dopamine effect of like, I'm being contacted by someone that's truly in need, and I'm able to help them. That's a cool feeling, right? So they're okay going an extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes because they're truly helping out someone in need. So they get to decide when the call ends. And then also after the call, working with Truefit, we realized we should have the video, being able to watch the video afterwards so that you can revisit your appointment. So things that, I had the overall basic idea, but because of the research that we did and as we built it out together, that's what's amazing about having a group working on a project where, I don't know if you see this or not, I might not look it, but I'm a 41-year-old white male from Southern Maryland. I do not represent all of America, right? So, and I'm okay with that, right? But that's why you want a team to come together and say, hey, from your viewpoint's going to be different than mine. Your viewpoint's going to be different from mine, though. So it was just a great experience of everyone working together, which I appreciate it, where it's like seeing you all in person for the first time. It's like, truly, it's like my family got together, right? We spent hours and hours and hours working on something where just as much it's easy for me to say Smeeple's mine, but it's also a part of you as well.
So one thing, this is off script, but I have Jess here. So recently you were telling me how much you missed the discipline of a product owner. So we call them product owners, project manager. Talk a little bit about the experience with Jess. And
Jess is mean. She's like, every time I reach out to her, she is mean. But I didn't know in reality she's not, though, right? I didn't realize just how important that is for someone to be able to stay on task, organize everything, where in my mind, it's like, at first I'm like, no, don't restrict me, let's run. And now I look back and dealing with different team players that are coming onto our team and just different agencies and so forth, it's like, no, Jess was absolutely right in that way. So we would not be where we are today if it was not for you and the rest of the team.
Well, and talk a little bit about what you're balancing when you're working with someone building. There's a lot.
Nothing too bad.
Obviously, depends on, client by client. I think in your case, your vision was so huge, which ended up paying off. But Calvin really wanted to boil the ocean and do all of the things. I didn't necessarily have a target right away. We wanted to try to test the market across a lot of different disciplines, industries. How do we, create a platform that can serve many, so that you can take it to market and, get the feedback? I think translating your idea into something that we could create in, a reasonable budget, right? Trying to come up with what are the most valuable features? How are we meeting a business need and a user need on both sides? Because you have the two-way market right? You've had experts, you've had customers, and having them be able to come together in a meaningful way. And on top of that, you have a team that you're trying to keep busy. So thinking about just more of a tactical level, how do you create this with a cross-functional team? Make sure you have, work to keep the team busy, enough surface area for multiple developers to be in there, making sure you're delivering quality code.
And one thing I didn't know, so we have 20 plus categories, right? Any type of expert is welcome onto our platform and we'll find a place for you. But you never know what's really going to take off. Yeah. So in reality, what we found out is actually athletics and then content creators. So it needs to be wide, but it's like, how do you spread yourself well amongst the nation? Well, in reality, we build a tool that adds another way to monetize the followers for content creators. So for example, we have an HVAC technician with 200,000 followers that's had over 50 bookings now. Or the gymnast that came onto our platform in the very beginning, she's had over 30-some bookings. There's a young lady who's less than 10 years old in Kentucky that's now able to meet with someone states away because she fell off the high bar, one of the gymnastic pieces of equipment, was discouraged, didn't want to get back on, and now she's able to talk to someone that's been there. And it's exciting to see that. But as we're building, we don't know what's going to be the main focus. But one of the cool things that we have is, because we're able to spread wide, is the mom that booked the daughter in gymnastic has now transferred over to another category to have a booking, or a really success story to share, where we had an HVAC technician book another HVAC technician, who then went over into IT, then who went over to business because he wants to start his own company, and is now going, why spend hours and hours in guessing where I can just pay $30, $40, $50, $60 and go talk to someone specific for my answer. So it's amazing to see how now, once someone does it once, they start going into the different categories and so forth. But as you shared, it's a challenge that how do you build something that meets everybody, but really able to focus in on the specifics.
This is a room of people who are creating and inventing, and they're all a lot of them are in the trenches with you. Can you talk a little bit about how you're making some of those decisions now, like the opportunity cost of pursuing one specific group versus the other? How are you making those decisions for the product?
Right, yeah, so I take dice and I roll it down here. It's really what we see works, right? It's a two-sided marketplace. So we have to have the experts to be able to bring on the consumers. And what's the easiest way to do that? And really, athletics, Division I kids are typically hungry for money, right? Where if you go into the business or even in the trades, which is very successful, a lot of the guys in trades and gals are actually busy. They work really long days, and someone has to be really passionate to continue sharing that knowledge and be able to be booked and so forth. So really, it's finding out, where can I satisfy quickly? And really, that came to be athletics. And then I thought to myself, what will also lead to repeat bookings, right? So in trades and services, I had that one plumbing issue, but that was 2 years ago. I haven't had a plumbing issue since then. So is Smeeple really going to be quick to mind if I used it one time, or if I heard about it in the commercial and I need it about a year and a half later? Good chance I'm not going to remember it. Versus in athletics, you get a mentor meeting. We have people that are booking now weekly to repeat with their mentor on it. So a couple of different factors that are coming in.
Very interesting. And then one of the things that you're doing really well, which I'm always nervous about, so when I'm working with new clients that have especially a marketplace play, is, do you have a strong marketing strategy? And so you've been getting really creative, and I'm pointing a lot of my clients who are in the nascent stages of, considering a marketplace or heavy marketing need. Talk to us about some of the things that are working. What are some trends you're seeing? What's been successful?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I thought social media was going to be the catalyst of all success. What I'm finding out, it's actually more from a branding perspective and on the expert side. So the social media presence that we have has been great. My creative director is fantastic at taking what I do behind the camera and making it look good. It's been amazing when experts come to our platform and say, okay, I heard about Smeeple, you're recruiting me, let me see what it looks like. If we had a cruddy social media presence or website or product, it's not good, right? So it's easy to say, go check out the Smeeple app. You don't have to put any of your information in. You can go see it. It looks beautiful, and it's easy to say, yes, I want to be part of this, right? Because it looks great. On the consumer side, I'm finding out that it's still, we have to focus on like the Google and the SEO, SEM type things and so forth. So it's interesting finding out what really leads to success in the different areas, because in reality, two-sided marketplace, I don't recommend for anyone, because it's tough, right? Where I just shared the other day, I wish I had just created a hat, because then it would just be like, the hat doesn't talk back, the hat is just there, and then I just go sell it, right? Versus an expert, it's like, oh, hey, you decided to miss your appointment. Thank you. Let's have a one-on-one conversation in regards to the importance of you making your appointment, right? And then I'm sorry that I'm going back, but even more important on the product development side, where if you download the app now, which I highly recommend everyone to do, you'll see about 600 experts on it. But in reality, we have a private side as well. So because of all of us talking, and I don't know if you remember building that or not, but we have a private side where we now have a corporate partnership that's going to be rolling out all of Michigan and Ohio. And we have several other key people that are on the private side where they say, I don't want to be available to the masses. I just want to be behind the scenes and so forth. And that was obviously through all of our discussions and finding that out, where I didn't realize how advantageous that would be. And now I can say, yes, I'm going to be in 35 stores or 40 stores in Michigan and Ohio because of the corporate partnership and that private side. But again, that's through, I would never have thought that beforehand, but it's through the product ideation days and then learning what we should really be building.
Ben, I wanted to throw a question at you too, not planned. So, but talk a little bit about some of the design thinking that went into this platform. Like, what are some things that, if you were sharing with people who were at some stage in their product development journey, any insights that you would share?
I think we do great work, but if our clients are also doing great work, that makes everything easier. And so Calvin spent a lot of time, talking to people in the nuclear facility, right? And seeing if this person likes it. You are very iterative and very open and transparent about a lot of that stuff. And so a lot of that made it easy for us to, take that information and use that as a stepping point, right? Instead of, you tested it out, So I think all of that was important. I think the competitive analysis was very important because it wasn't the only kind of app that had, that kind of situation going on. So it was important to see how other people were doing it, where they were falling down, where those things were going well. Things just started to come together and it started to feel good. You know what I mean? It looked good. It felt good. Everybody needs this kind of app. So it all just kind of lined up. And also your ability to learn from things that we were saying as well. Like you took it and you went and did it. You didn't fight us or tell us why you know differently or better, So there's always a good conversation back and forth.
Talk to us a little bit about developing customers. So that's a big thing when you're building a product in any industry, and we work in lots of different industries. Talk a little bit about your client acquisition strategy.
A lot of people debated, is my customer actually the expert or is my customer the paying customer?
Yeah.
And what am I really looking forward to? I have an answer. We'll talk about that afterwards. But so to build the two-sided marketplace, I had to find the experts. And I hope that this is such a huge success and people go, hey, it must have been easy to get all these people because it's such a good idea. It's been a terrible process. I can show you thousands and thousands of emails that I personally sent before I found out there's software out there that you could utilize to send emails for you. But trying to recruit experts on the one side who's saying, hey, this is going to be a really good idea. But one of the things I really appreciate about Truefit is that as we're going through the process, I was getting either screenshots or mock-ups and so forth, which really allowed me to paint the vision so that I'm saying, we don't have it yet, but this is what it's going to be, right? So it's much easier to share your story if there's some type of visual that goes along with it. And that went a long way of saying, hey, just go look at this and you're going to see. And once they saw that, they're like, okay, I'm going to try this out. And in reality, I'm so thankful for this. We got some huge content creators to sign up in the very beginning where these people have 1 million plus in all these different categories of followers. And then because of the vision that we had and what we're building, they're like, sure, we'll talk about you for free on our content. And it's like, that's not normal, right? And it's like, with my 300 followers, the spread's very little, but getting those type of people on board quickly is just was so advantageous for us because it's, hey, if Jeff's on it, then I should be on it, right? And then more and more people came. So that's on the expert side. On the consumer side, it's been very helpful to have those content creators because they already have an existing base, right? Yeah. One video from an HVAC technician will pull in 9 to 10 appointments for him, right? And he just puts it out to his followers and so forth. But it's now we have the joy of figuring out how do we spread this out. And one of the things that we built with Smeeple is that we take very little of the transaction fee on purpose, where most two-sided marketplaces take 20 to 50%. We only take 10%. 3% goes to Stripe, 7% goes to us. And we are now, in our long-term growth, we're not necessarily worried about the transaction fees, which puts us into a different ballgame because we're going after something a little bit different. I can't give away the secret sauce. But so what do we do with that 7% if we don't need it? We actually are very excited where we are now going to be partnering with major universities and colleges because of the athletes saying, hey, you're always looking for touch points with alumni. We have built a platform where you can now have, let's just say Notre Dame, if they are one of them or not. But you can say, hey, a Notre Dame baseball player can now mentor your kid. And I don't know a single Notre Dame graduate that doesn't wear some type of Notre Dame throughout the week and saying that, hey, you're adding value into the alumni's life. The alumni can say, hey, yes, I want my kid to be mentored by someone in my alma mater. Yeah. And I'm coming back to the school and saying, hey, I don't need all 7%. Would you guys like to use that as a fundraiser? And now the doors are wide open for us and very excited about the partnerships. We just landed our first partnership with them, with a major school. And now we're going to be continuing doing that because now I don't really need to market it. Right now they want to because they want to earn that revenue behind it. And they're going to be putting out to their hundreds and hundreds of thousands of alumni building a mentorship program based off that. So I didn't think that in the beginning. I would love to say I thought of it once I had all these athletes sign up. In reality, a UCLA football coach contacted me and said, I want to use you guys as a mentorship program and put it on the big screen and tell our alumni that, hey, you can be mentored or your kids can be mentored by some of our football athletes. I'm like, that's a great idea. I don't want to do it just for you. I want to do it for everybody.
Yeah.
So very lucky in that way, but it's really just seeing the opportunity, being able to run with it when it comes your way.
It's been fun to watch. We were all very nervous in the beginning for sure because he kept using this term, boil the ocean. And we were like, it's such a big ocean, Calvin. What do you wish you had known? Like, what would you share? What wisdom would you impart?
That's a great question. I wish I would have known what would actually work or not. I'm sure if you look back at some of the features that we have, not necessarily needed versus some other features that have absolutely been advantageous to us. But I mean, in reality, I just look at it as like the learning process. So would it have been nice to say, hey, we actually only need to start with 2 categories and then grow to 3 and then to 4 instead of putting it all out there? Because in my mind, it actually looks a little bit rough we have an education category that we've maybe had only 5 bookings in. We're blessed to have several big time advisors now in the background. And some of the advice that I got is before you even try, or you haven't even tried yet in advertising, right? All of this has been word of mouth. We still haven't really paid for any type of advertising, which is fantastic. That's changing next month. But he said, put it all out there and see what actually sticks before you actually cancel something. So, and I don't know if I did a great job answering this one or not, but it would have been nice to see what was actually effective because then it would just shorten the period down. Yeah. But again, I go back to Truefit, and I genuinely mean this, where being able to bring in people that are very specific and good at what they do has been so helpful for me, where probably one of the biggest struggles with a startup is not that the product is built. I have an amazing tool that people love. How do I pull in the right talent now? Where you guys set the bar high in regards to saying, right, like I expect a lot. You can ask my creative director somewhere in the room. He probably doesn't like me at all because I expect a lot from him. And then anyone coming onto our team, I'm like, you need to perform at this level because I just to compare you to. And good luck trying to get there. But in reality, that's what I expect because that's what I had in the very beginning. So,
any parting thoughts? Any final, what's coming next? I guess, what should we look for in Smeeple?
Yeah, so it's just the growth of it now. So we're really excited. From word of mouth, we've been very successful. And, right now we have an 80% rebook rate, which is exciting. We have about a 30% booking into different categories rate. And again, it's through word of mouth. So we're excited now where how do we roll out appropriately, and whether it be social media in regards to more of the branding side, but then also going after targeted ads and our alumni or the college university strategy in regards to letting them put it out. So really looking to see if we can become that national brand out there. Whenever you need expertise, you know where to go.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, audience.